Okay, hi all. Talking a bit with my muted voice to record while my daughter's sleeping in the next room. You can see here I already started, and I'd like to just record this session of doing some head sketching and I don't know, maybe do some from imagination or invention, maybe some from reference. This one was from a reference, and yeah, we can talk about the head and how to approach drawing it. Well, I'll maybe show several ways, and I guess the most crucial is that whatever way you choose, you need to indicate, or at least to me, that's most crucial. I need to indicate the line uh, going through the eyes and into the ear, as well as obviously the center line coming from chin in between the eyes and wrapping over the center of the head. And these two are crucial, and so whatever shapes I begin with, I want to turn them into some volume that could be a head. So here we have a very likely an egg shape, and I can easily make a volume out of that. I can say, well, this is the center line, and maybe the head is looking upward a bit. So this would be the eye line, right? And now we already have some three-dimensional object, and the eyes we can immediately place and, well, basically give them the size and proportion and shape that we want. We can make it very Disney-like. We can make it more realistic. We can look for the brow ridge and think about where the brows would end up, and shape them, design them, maybe to also express a certain feeling or emotion. And dropping down, we might indicate where the nose is, and if we have to tweak the shape of the egg to maybe get a more pointy chin, then of course we can look for some indication of where the jaw would be. And basically carve out the shape of the face as we want it. Somewhere here would be an ear, probably a bit lower even. Well, I'm sketching with my new favorite ballpoint pen, and I'm just keeping it light until I'm satisfied with the placement of all the features and the design. I'm looking now for the kind of bottom plane of the nose, and the nostrils. Again, the nose we can also design as we see fit. Same for the mouth, now that we have some line for the lips. We can investigate how large we want the mouth to be, how thick the lips are. And I like to really indicate this little indentation underneath the lower lip before we hit the ball of the chin. And well, there we kind of have our head. One line that we might want to incorporate is the kind of cheekbone line. And we'll have to think about, the shape of the jaw, where that jawline would end up on the far side, somewhere here and there. You would find the ear, and in between that, think about where the neck will pop out from underneath and behind the skull. And in its essence, regard the neck as a cylinder or tube again. Well, there we go. And of course, we can add the hair as we see fit. We could go for a similar hairstyle, or maybe get something with less of a what is it called? Bangs in front. And again, I'm trying to keep it light and basically providing myself kind of a preview. I'm thinking about bundling the hair up just behind the skull, and thinking about how these strands would go to that point, maybe with some strand hanging just a little bit loosely. And it's just an initial investigation, so I do have plenty of opportunity to refine and look for, the shape and size and placement of the eyes that I would like. And same for the eyebrows. Let's give her a little bit more heavy and expressive eyebrows. And we'll follow this line into the tip of the nose, somewhere over there. And so this is an invention. There's no reference apart from my memory of heads. Maybe she's looking off to the side. And well, here we see also why this ballpoint pen is my new favorite. It is really soft and smooth and can really easily um, yield a very heavy line. At the same time, as most ballpoints do, it can also provide a very light line. Just indicating some pupil, maybe a little bit of lighter tone hatching for the rest of the iris. Show here the somewhat closed upper eyelid. And the shape of the inside of the ear is quite particular. We'll use a simple cartoony shorthand for that. And we can now start to commit a bit more. Of course, with hair, the trick is not to try to draw every hair strand as an individual line, but regard it as a group, a simple shape, and indicate some variation in large, small, close by, far apart, some of the direction that the strands of hair or clumps of hair will have. And you should be good. Saves a lot of work and provides a lot of clarity. Same for this bun. Maybe suggest a little bit of shadow. Always also nice to throw it underneath, behind the ear here, onto the neck. But okay. Maybe indicate a little gloss point on the lips and hatch in a little bit of value for some elements. There we go. And with this ballpoint and with this sketching, I'm really not too afraid to make the lines very heavy. dominant. Just get a nice, clear read. Now, we started from an egg, which is maybe the utmost simplest fashion. Another way to go about it is to already divide the skull or the cranium part from the jaw part of the skull. And let me just see if I can find some reference. That one's a bit too difficult, but this one is nice. Just storing it, saving it. Okay, it's a tiny picture, but it's okay. It's, well, pretty similar to this one in its point of view, but maybe still nice to show them. So in that case, you would start with something a bit like a circle, and now already for this circle indicate this center line, and basically start attaching the jaw to it. I like to maybe cut out this side of the skull, the temple area already, just to get some sense of where the jaw would come out. And I'm not looking for too much of a likeness in this case, so shouldn't worry too much about measurements, but I want to get something fairly decent. Well, it should probably move up a bit. Again, like till we get it right, as they say. So this is the eye line, and behind the jawline we see the ear starting to occur. You can look for a little indication of where you think the brows are. Sometimes this pen is glitching. So I'm trying to plot out the size and placement of the eyes. And, well, she's kind of wearing heavy mascara. So we'll see a lot of heavy lines for the eyelids. I should probably not commit too much already, but, well, there you go. I can sometimes use this kind of continuation of the eyelash to get a sense of the placement of the eyebrows. She has a fairly long eyebrows like this, and we see the other eyebrow really attaching here to this keystone line for the nose, and we can drop down usually around the bottom of the initial circle is where we might find um, the bottom of the nose, kind of looking at this uh, triangle for the tip of the nose to establish the nostril. And, well, we'd get something like this. And we drop down again. Here's this mouth that is opening, that kind of relaxed fashion that you often see in, fashion advertisements or commercials for perfume with the models. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to show that. I, by the way, should be able to show that. Something like that. Ball of the chin again, well, worked out quite nicely with the placement of the chin. And we can basically find the location of the irises over to the right to start looking at us. And okay, I'm kind of dragging this out a bit. A very straight jawline. And, well, you see the hair here, which is wavy. It's short, but it's wavy over the head in all kinds of fashions. So maybe I want to keep it very gestural. I also want to look at this line for the neck. I didn't capture the tilt of the face quite properly. I should have tilted it a little bit more like so. That's one thing that I would do differently, because I feel that adds quite a bit to the overall expression. There's a shoulder here. She's looking over her shoulder, of course. Well, I'm honing in on some of the features, and I'm gonna look for the the way the hair has a simple shape, to then, of course, look for the way the hair is flowing here over. And from this point on, we find the hair doing something a little bit different. Basically, very wavy. And it's just a very fun hairdo and a lot of vividness to it. A lot of swirls and curls and overlapping strands and locks of hair. So here I'm suggesting great variety and more active curls. One thing to keep in mind is that hair has weight, right? And due to the weight, wherever we are at the end of the hair, it will be able to curl more. At the beginning of the hair, this curling might be a little bit less because it's being pulled and restrained by the rest of the weight of the hair. So, compared to the others, you see it's still pretty light. So, I now do have ample opportunity to show it a bit or fortify the lines a bit. I'm gonna really press home this pointy or straight jaw, relatively small pointy chin, cheekbones. She has very dominant cheekbones. And that's really taken up the eyelashes. Maybe show a little bit of light hitting the irises. That really helps to get some, well, life in the eyes. So, maybe I complicated matters with this hair a bit too much, but I think it's still nice to show. And in this fortifying stage, I can definitely, simplify a bit. Maybe go for a nice graphic outline. Pull this line weight a little bit into the inside of the hair. Look for the kind of fanning out of the hair here. So I want to create enough variation in the thickness of the strands, and at the same time show a little bit of homogeneity, so all of them behaving similarly, something like this, I suppose. And there we go. Well, I don't know, it's maybe not too terrible. Maybe it is. Who's to say? Well, basically you guys are to say. Watching this on YouTube. So let me know if you think this is worthwhile showing on YouTube. I just don't know. God, I love this ballpoint pen. It's so soft and subtle and supple, smooth. Sometimes I find myself having quite a bit of fun and, basically building up some layers of hatching to, well, just kind of relax and reward myself. Okay. Let's make the outline even more fat. Really. Let it be nice and graphic. Yeah, that's kind of nice. I'll leave out the bridge of the nose. I think makes it a bit more, well, elegant to not show the entire bridge here. Well, I didn't really capture her likeness, but you know, at least I got something down that isn't completely unlike the reference. A little bit of shading. There we go. Let's find another one. And you know what? Maybe I can. This one. Maybe that one. And this one will suffice. Maybe I can show another still, or yet another way of approaching the head. I think I maybe already posted a video about this. I'm really not sure. I should keep track of this kind of stuff. Is this the best example? Well, it's good enough. This is a method I like to use when we see the head either from below or above. And basically comes down to treating the head as kind of a cylinder. I often like to call it a bucket head approach. So what does that mean? Well, it means wait, have a look whether I'm in camera. I can look for the general tilt of the head. Maybe I'll draw her here. Is this still in the image? Yeah. And look for the general tilt of the head and basically use that as the central axis for the kind of ellipses I'm going to need for my general bucket idea. Now, this is basically the bucket, and believe it or not, this is what we're going to make a head out of. So I'm going to find again the middle, which is going to serve as our center line, and we can look for the placement of the line down the middle from chin through the middle of the eyes or in between the eyes, and look at what that is. And well, why would we do that? Well, we can basically kind of get a nice kind of carving out of the bottom part of the jaw, and have an idea of where our ear is going to be placed. So that's going to be somewhere over here, and indeed we can drop the chin down a bit. The chin is not perfectly straight down, so it might end up somewhere over there. In this particular case, it's a bit lower probably, but we'll find that when we find it. And already here get, quite a quick structure for our head, where all that really matters is again the eye line and center line. I'm looking for the cavity of the eyes and the eyebrows. And it's just something to give us some guidance if turns out I need a bit more space, for example, on the top of the head. I just add that. That's perfectly fine. And let's look for the kind of very pointy nose that she has. Really find this plane on the of the underside of the nose. And show the pointy tip. Maybe I'm gonna cartoonify her just a bit. Now she has her eyelids half closed, and I'm gonna make her eyes big to cartoonify. And she's looking kind of cheeky over to the left. And we can see how thick the eyelids are, even or accentuated even stronger by the lashes mascara. Now I should take into account the kind of wrapping of the lip line or mouth line, but in the end it's still pushed up, giving her a little bit of a confident smile, I would say. Now her lips are a bit thinner, something like this. Take into account the foreshortening for this eye, also for the half of the lips here, because it's wrapping away from us. She is not as young as this model. I think she's in her, late 30s, maybe 40s. Why am I saying that? Well, I actually don't know. So there we go. From kind of a bucket idea, we can also establish a head. It really doesn't matter as long as you think closely about the relationship between the center of the face and the eye line and how that wraps toward the ear. And you can basically establish the head in the proper placement and orientation, then tweaking the proportions and shape design for the features. You can create different, characters, I would say, or likenesses. Her neck is long and hunching or lunging hunching forward. Here we find the traps, etc. Just need that to kind of get an idea of the, well, hair, where it is placed, and takes up quite a bit of space on the top of the head. I think I want to lower the hairline a bit. And again, light till it's right. Using my lovely ballpoint to establish a light touch. And now we can start. Well, the hair is very dark, but we can start to look for some indication of the flow of the hair. It's doing quite some interesting stuff on top here. And here it's starting to roll away toward the other side. Well, something like this. So I'm probably gonna quit after this one. How long have I been recording? Well, 50 minutes already. So maybe finish this one up and then call it a day. Go to bed myself. I don't really need the reference anymore at this point. But I sometimes like to keep it inside. Maybe I'm gonna focus on some pretty heavy lines right away. There's this cheeky strand of hair here that's kind of escaping the flow and the shape of the rest of the hair. The same is happening on this side, actually. Now, maybe turn my attention a little bit inward to not neglect the eyes and the eyebrows and everything that, well, of course, provide a lot of expression. And I really want to kind of also exaggerate the thickness of the lashes. There we go, that looks quite exaggerated. Even more, closing the eye just a tad bit more. It doesn't really have heavy mascara on the underside of her eyes, but I'll still show it. Very clear glint in her eyes. And I should also maybe spend some time or some weight on the line of the eye socket here. Really show her eyes being somewhat closed or half opened in a very relaxed kind of fashion. Pointy nose. Not really any shine on the lips, but let's just incorporate it anyway. There we go. Now, some of the shading underneath the chin, and again, you see a very clear shadow shape here behind the jaw underneath the ear. And yeah, I could really hatch in a lot of value for her hair, but maybe for now that's not necessary. I just want to get it to a level of weight and refinement that's comparable to the others. So that would be something like this. Pushing in more weight. Oh man, this is so fun. Having such a good time here with myself and my ballpoint. I have about the cheapest paper I could find. It's really not an expensive pen either. But that's all you need to have some fun sketching. Well, let's call it quits right here. I showed you 3 kind of approaches, so I hope you got something out of that, or that it inspired you, starting from simple egg shape, starting from a composite shape of an ellipse or egg with a jaw attachment, and starting from some cylindrical bucket type of head. It might be that you uh, dislike one of these methods and really prefer one other. Well, that's of course completely fine and up to you. I kind of like all three of them, I suppose. So um, I am sometimes in the mood for one, or sometimes, like I said, for some situations, I might find one approach or method a bit more appropriate. Well, then I'll use that. I think I want to throw in some loose strands of hair here as well. Something like this, maybe. With loose hair there as well, giving it a bit more natural feel. Okay. I said I'm gonna quit, so give me 20 more minutes and I will actually quit. But, let's look at the recording. Yeah, it's been pretty much an hour now. So that's a very good time to actually quit. I hope you got something out of this. Thank you all for watching. See you next time. Cheers for now.